This clip is so good. I don't have a lot of times where I applaud Jake Tapper, but this is a really important piece of history. Here's Dana Bash talking about the last time that the Republicans were in chaos in this manner. And this is, this goes back to when Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House. It is, I think, the end of 1998. This is in the wake of the impeachment proceedings against Bill Clinton for having an affair, essentially, or lying about what the definition of sex was in a deposition about an affair he had with Monica Lewinsky. What happens is a lot of people wanted to get rid of Gingrich because he was dragging down people. He was just a hateable guy. At this time, Gingrich was married, and his wife, if I remember correctly, had cancer. And during this time, he was having an affair with his now wife, Calista, and I believe she was a staffer. Now, it's a little bit of a glass house situation when you're cheating on your wife who has cancer with your staffer as you are bringing impeachment proceedings against the president for having essentially an affair.
Yeah.
So he resigns because he's got to deal with his affairs, as it were. And then this guy, Bob Livingston, do you remember him? He becomes the Speaker of the House. And I honestly can't remember for how long, but it felt like 2 weeks. Maybe it was more, but not much more. And he was just like just a classic, cut your taxes type of Republican, not like a social warrior type, like a lobbyist type. And then I think it was.
Oh, he was, at least according to his Wikipedia.
From Hustler. Who is the guy from Hustler?
Larry Flint?
Larry Flint. Larry Flint either said, I will give money to her, or I have information that Bob Livingston had an affair.
Yeah.
And so Bob Livingston had to resign.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't find a speaker. And Tom DeLay, who was the whip, an incredibly corrupt guy, he gets a guy who's going to be his puppet. And the guy's name is Denny Hastert, and he was from Ohio. And the question was, Denny Hastert was so unassuming and this and that, and DeLay completely controlled this guy. And we don't find out why DeLay was able to control this guy until a couple of years later, after Denny Hastert is no longer in office, after he ran interference for a guy named Mark Foley, who was basically preying on young pages. This is in 2006 when the Democrats take back the House after 8 years, 10 years or something. But Jake Tapper reminded us who Denny Hastert was in this conversation with Dana Bash.
Because, we have seen that. We haven't seen it play out on the floor, but pre-floor, when Newt Gingrich was ousted and they were looking for a consensus candidate. Yeah.
It turned out it was a child molester, but okay, yes.
True, convicted.
Yes. True. Yes, true.
Aside from that, how was the play misleading?
Denny Hastert, after he was out of office, ended up getting sued for having molested kids when he was a wrestling coach. And then ended up being convicted of child molestation during that time. I think he served a couple of years in prison, if I remember correctly. And I will tell you why I suspect we did not see Jim Jordan put himself out there as speaker, because when you put yourself out there as speaker, you become a target. And the least reported, the most underreported story in Congress is that there were multiple, I think they were college athletes, wrestlers, who have testified in open court. I think it was court, right? They definitely done some open testimony. I've seen it. That Jim Jordan completely ignored their multiple pleas to him to get the team's, I think, doctor away from them because he was molesting these players. And they have accused Jim Jordan of completely ignoring these pleas. That's why I suspect Jim Jordan is not going to go, does not want to be in contention. It's not because Jim Jordan's a humble guy.
He's just like George Washington. He just wants to. I mean, even the George Washington thing. Washington wanted to go speculate on land in the Ohio Valley. That's why what he was interested. Not
Dan from Columbus. Didn't Danny Hastert watch his wrestling players in his shower? No, he molested some of them. It was Jim Jordan that protected the doctor who was accused of watching the players shower.
There was some. They might that IMR might be thinking of the Penn State football. Scandal because that was
Sandusky.
Yes, that was involving some shower.
Yeah, but Jordan was there for like a decade almost, and didn't see nothing apparently.
Yeah. And the reason why that was a consensus candidate was because I think Tom DeLay knew. I think Tom DeLay knew that this was in Denny Hastert's closet. This is complete speculation.
That liability becomes an asset to people who use it as a leverage point over them.
I mean. I've never seen.
That's why it's concerning about Brett Kavanaugh's things that were kept for closed session about debts and things like that. Like those liabilities are assets for people controlling them.
Yep.